This is the Milo Sweet Podcast, where you'll learn to get unstuck. Start now. Conquer life's challenges by learning to do difficult. Find quick and clever ways to overcome. Wait, did you think life was going to be easy? Remember, all of your excuses are now dead to me. Let's get started. Guess what time it is? It's time for you to hit the subscribe button and find just 1% that you think will benefit from this. But if you're feeling a little generous, right? Or you're super free with your time right now, probably doing nothing because you're listening to this. Well, maybe if you're doing something, actually just make yourself free right now. Hit subscribe. What are you waiting for? Hit it. Come on. Hit subscribe. Welcome to the Milo Sweet Podcast, Carson. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's hear a little bit about yourself again. Welcome back.
Yeah, two-time host. Guest.
You know what? It's your show. I feel like that's what you're saying.
But yes, as you guys may not know, I am Mila's friend. We both knew each other in Portland. We both lived in Portland together, and so that's a little bit about me. I currently live in Seattle, and I work in the tech industry present day.
What's it like living in Seattle?
I really like it. Let me preface this by saying I'm from the South originally. I have literally lived in the South my whole life and went to school there. And when I moved to Portland, where I met you, that was my first time living on the West Coast. Prior to moving to Portland, I had started having some audits in California. And it was my first introduction to the West Coast. And I was like, what is the secret? This place is so amazing. Why has no one ever told me about this before? So so that's kind of my experience with the West Coast. I fell in love with California, ended up getting a job, however, in Portland. Never would have thought in a million years I would have moved there. And then subsequently, after living in Portland for around 5 years, I moved up to Seattle. I wish I had made the move sooner. I love the quaint nature of Portland. However, there just feels like there's so much economic opportunity in Seattle. And I say that feeling very privileged. I know that for some people who are born and raised in Seattle don't feel that same way. And so I am always reminded of that by people who are from there. But it's amazing the number of Fortune 500 companies, 110 Fortune 10 companies that are in this area. So it's great from an economic perspective. It's also just very beautiful. My commute, while can be long, I am oftentimes sitting on the bridge, watching the sun go down or watching the sun come up. And it's just such a beautiful place to live. And then there's also just a lot of activities and things to do. And I feel like I have met a lot of people in my age range. I'm in my mid-30s. That's all y'all need to know. And I feel like I've met a lot of people in my age range and in my marital status. So single, basically, is what I'm saying. A lot of single people in their mid-30s. And I didn't feel like I had that network of people in Portland, or the people that I knew that were single in Portland started to move away. And so it's great to have a lot of friends in my same age range that we can take advantage of the city and, enjoy, well, pre-COVID, enjoy bars and restaurants and happy hour. So, yeah.
That's interesting. Did you ever see yourself buying a place when you moved there, or how did that happen, purchasing your first piece of property?
So I had been thinking about buying for a long time, but quite frankly, and this is one of the reasons why I left from Portland, I felt very priced out. the housing prices were growing at a rate that was not matching the way my income was growing. And so just a little bit more about the beautiful city of where we both used to live. I I I mean, you and I both say that we lived in Portland, but neither one of us actually lived in Portland. We lived outside of the city in the suburbs. And I will say I am a person who normally likes to live near work, and so that was my choice. And I loved the restaurants of Beaverton and the community, and a lot of my friends lived there. But I also never felt like I could afford to live in Portland. And when I talked to my peers who were purchasing homes in Portland, they were able to do so with cash down payments provided by family members. I did not have a family member to give me $40,000 to purchase a place. I just didn't. So so when actually I was even approached for a job in Seattle, and I started to look to see how much I could get in a pay increase, I realized that if I wanted to be able to buy a home for myself, taking this job would be the first step towards doing that, because I really needed to increase my income. And the other benefit for the job that I work for, we do receive stock options, or stocks as both a bonus, sign-in bonus and performance bonus. And so it gives me extra disposable income that I can then leverage to purchase a home. So that was, when I think back to the decision on why I purchased a home in Seattle, it was the first time in my life I felt like, one, I felt like I could afford it, and two, the decision made sense to me. So post college, I lived in Memphis, and I didn't really love Memphis, but I could afford to buy a home-ish, a smaller like starter home. And my realtor was a family friend, and he just flat out told me, "You don't actually like living here. Don't buy don't buy a house here." I was really forcing it. I was like looking every weekend. I have to find something. And he was just like, "No, like, don't do it." Best advice ever. And then, like I said, when I moved to Portland, I felt priced out. So Seattle was the first time everything made sense to be able to purchase. And I feel that sometimes you feel these external pressures of, oh, so-and-so just bought this home, and well, all my homies in the South own homes. Well, I mean, that you can't compare yourself. I had to do what felt right for me at the right time. And I'm glad I bought when I did.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I also think that that is a common trend if you're purchasing in Portland is income, the increase, like your income doesn't grow at the same rate as appreciation on property. So you even just waiting a year, it can make it really challenging just to even be able to afford the same house that you were looking at the year before, right? So that creates a lot of hurdles to overcome. It's possible, but I definitely think that's a common problem or a challenge. And I also think that it is important to know, the differences between how your friends are able to buy a home. Like, I think that is important because I wasn't fortunate in that scenario to have a family member down, give me a down payment. It was a lot of saving and scraping and making it work. So I definitely can understand that.
I would
Now,
say, oh, sorry. I just think
oh, go ahead, tell me.
the last thing I will say about that is I really do encourage you to, if you have that relationship, and you can probe and ask if you do have that relationship with your friends, to really ask them, because that wasn't just one person's story that I heard that from. I can think of 4 or 5 different people who had help from family. And I don't think I knew anyone that was an individual buyer who did not have help. So that was also where that thought process of, I don't think I can buy as a single person in Portland, because I have no example of anyone who's done it before, like who's not either married and has a dual income or has family help. So I think that I probably also felt comfortable buying a place in Seattle because I went through this process with my friends. and watch them picking places, going through the whole remodel process. I lived that with them, and I asked them a lot of questions. And so once I started to look, I felt like I knew a lot more about the process because I was able to leverage a lot of the insights I got from them.
What was that process like? Are there any tips that you could share for purchasing in Seattle?
I will say I was an unusual buyer. My realtor will tell you, and this isn't because we're friends now, but she will say I was one of the best clients. And you laughed really earnestly at that, Maya, but it's true, because I bought the second place that I looked at. And the only reason why I didn't buy the first one is they did not accept my offer. But I would say the tips I would give is be really clear on what your objective is for buying. I purchased a condo because I wanted walking money. Do you know what that means?
I do not know what that means.
So that means
Explain.
if you need to leave your husband, you need to have money to be able to walk. So
I've never heard of this.
Girl, well, I mean, so yeah.
So that must mean I don't have walking money. Continue.
I didn't really know how to say like what the next best thing to say was after you said that you had never heard of it. But yeah, I mean, this is a whole nother topic for a whole nother podcast, but I just know people who did not have their own financial means going into a marriage. And when it was time to leave because their significant others were trash, they financially could not. So the other thing I learned was to make sure I always had walking money. And so by purchasing a home, I knew when I purchased my place that it was an investment for myself. This was not going to be a home that, when I find Mr. Right, we're going to sell it and then we're going to use the proceeds to buy our starter home. Nope. That home is going to stay in my name. And when it's time for me to move out and move in with a partner, we will buy a whole new place separately. I will keep my place, rent it, and keep it as an investment property. And haven't really thought that far beyond. But, if I ever need to leave or something happens, I will own a place and I will always have a place to live. So that was...
I've actually never heard of this.
I
don't know. I don't know how I should feel now, but continue.
And you know what? And I'm not saying this as, I don't know what the demographics of your listeners are. I'm not saying this as some person who came from a broken home or anything. My parents are still married. They share finances. But I recognize that the lack of financial independence can keep you in situations that you don't want to be in. And that can be from a work perspective. That can be... I
can totally understand that.
Yeah, a relationship perspective. So going back to the original question, when I went to look for a home, I needed a place that I could rent out, that would be, the mortgage is low enough that I can manage on my own because I couldn't afford a 2-bedroom. I knew that. And so it would be something that was in an attractive neighborhood. And so I was kind of thinking about things as, thinking of it as an investment. So because I was thinking about it as an investment, I never had an emotional tie to my home. Granted, I love my condo. It's great, but also I put it up for sale on Thursday. So
wait, what?
Yes.
What made you do that?
Breaking news. So, I do have a bit of a finance background. Even as I was going through the closing process, I continued to look at homes. I mean, I didn't think that just to see, was there another deal out there? Did I make the right decision? So I consistently look at postings. And so I have a good sense of what's coming up on the market, what's going on the market, how long it's sitting, what's the right price. the really sad, dark thing about COVID is, I mean, a lot of people are probably afraid to list their property, right? Because originally, I mean, you're a realtor, so you know, like the rules had changed. Originally in my state, they said that real estate showings had to stop. They walked that back and they said real estate is an essential business. Well, I kind of started to look to see how much inventory was out there, and it's very bare.
Yes.
So I felt like I could put my place on the market and I could get what I paid for plus some. And interest rates are really low. I can use this to get maybe even a larger home with a couple more amenities and pay probably equal mortgage. And so far it's looking like that. I listed on Thursday. I've already shown it 4 times.
Wow.
So I was pretty right. I mean, that was here's what I will say. A lot of what happened in the buying process and the decisions I make, part of it is my gut feeling of this is what I'm thinking. And then I run it by my realtor, who is the true subject matter expert. And she usually tells me, yep, that's right. And that's kind of, I mean, so she went and looked at the April numbers and she said only 30 some odd places went up on the market. I think she said 38 specifically. 33 of them have already sold.
Wow.
And they had multiple offers. As I bought my place, I bought as the market was really starting to cool. When I bought my place, there were only 2 offers made on the place, mine and one other offer, which in the summer, even earlier that year, people were, they were in multiple offer situations. And I mean, you are another person who I looked at the process of you purchasing a home. You had to write a whole letter and include family photos for somebody to pick you to buy their home. That's how competitive the market used to be.
Very true. It was like 7 or 8 offers. Mm-hmm. I think maybe, the first 6 or 7 didn't get accepted. So yeah, very, very true.
So, I mean, so the way I'm kind of thinking about it right now, I've been right so far. Meaning that I've talked to the lender. There is a program for first-time home buyers. The interest rate has dropped to 3.125, I believe, which is lower than my current interest rate. So far, a couple of the things that I was thinking through have aligned so far. There isn't any inventory. There has been a lot of interest so far. The interest rates seem pretty favorable. So now the next hurdle is to find another place.
All right, that's another episode in the books. Hello? I said it's over. Why are you still listening? Like, seriously, the episode is over. If you're still listening right now, you know what? You're probably a chronic procrastinator. Guess what? I'm still listening to. Come on, for real, seriously. We gotta go do something productive. No, like for real. No, for real. Okay, you can keep listening.